would like to present Dr. Mano van Maas. He's a principal hardware engineer at RISC C.I.C. and he will talk with us about the CHERI Alliance embedded improved security in electronic systems.
Maruno, okay.
Can you see my screen?
Wait a moment, please. Oh.
Let me see if you can see my slides.
Wait. Please wait a moment.
Okay.
Okay, now we can see your presentation. So please start.
Okay, great. Konnichiwa, Tokyo. Excuse my Japanese. My Japanese isn't that good, so I'm going to do the rest of this presentation in English, if that's okay. Thank you very much for the invitation to talk about CHERI Alliance. I already saw in the introduction that that was a very good introduction to CHERI and why CHERI is important, so thank you very much for that. We're really excited as the CHERI Alliance that you're spending this much time in RISC-V Day Tokyo to talk about CHERI. So this is a really exciting technology for us. So thank you very much for the invitation. So we're going to talk about how to embed and improve security in electronic systems. And I'm who's a founding member of the CHERI Alliance. Okay, so a little bit of an agenda for today. So first of all, we'll talk about what is this memory safety problem. We talked a little bit about that before. Then what is CHERI technology? How does it solve that? Then I'll tell you specifically about what the CHERI Alliance is and what the goals of the CHERI Alliance are. And at the fourth point, I'll talk about low risk, and finally, I'll talk about members' benefits and why you should join the CHERI Alliance. So memory safety. This is a graph showing essentially the cost of cybercrime worldwide. So estimated in 2027 that cybercrime will be worth 24 trillion US dollars, and that's a massive amount. We're currently in 2025, of course, that the 2025, 26, and 27 are estimates, but you can see that it's kind of linearly increasing. And to give you a bit of context here, the economy of Japan is between 4 and 6 trillion US dollars. So these are massive amounts of money that we're talking about, and a massive problem that we should address. And then in terms of like what part of the vulnerabilities that we look at are because of lack of memory safety, we can look at the percentage of vulnerabilities reported each year, and you can see that pretty consistently. It's about 70% or 2/3 of vulnerabilities are because of memory safety. So if we can have a technology that can solve that part, that would be an amazing achievement. So there are a number of possible solutions here. So we can use memory safe languages like Rust or .NET, which I heard Rust was already mentioned. The downside of this is you would have to rewrite a lot of the code that we already have in C and C++ and in other languages, but it's definitely possible for new code, and we also recognize that these are powerful technologies for new code. The other thing that I would mention here is that there's no compartmentalization for these, or efficient compartmentalization for these languages yet. Then there's coarse grain techniques like stack canaries. These are helpful, but essentially they are statistical. So they, if you write into one of these stack canaries, it can be detected. However, because they're statistical and not kind of guaranteed to be triggered when you're under attack, there are hacking techniques that essentially get around this pretty consistently. So the technique that we're proposing is to use fine-grained techniques like CHERI. We believe that CHERI has all the things that you need to solve everything. So you essentially can reuse the C and C++ code that you already have. You don't have to rewrite that code. It's a deterministic technique. We believe it's the best option with the caveat that we do need to produce new hardware and make sure that everybody has access to this technology. So how do we actually do that? Okay, I talked a little bit about what CHERI can do, but what is CHERI actually? So CHERI stands for Capability Hardware Enhanced RISC Instructions. And the benefits are that you get deterministic fine-grained memory protection. So this is because you add bounds and permissions to your pointers when you access memory, so you can't actually access memory that you're not supposed to. But what's really cool about this technique is not just the memory protection you get from it, but also that it enables scalable compartmentalization. And this scalable compartmentalization can actually solve a lot of the vulnerabilities that we saw earlier, even in the 30% area, where you can actually compartmentalize each function in your program by itself and make sure that it can only access what it needs to access. It's an architectural solution, so it works with existing software, which is great, and it does this protection through hardware, and it's an extension of conventional hardware ISA. So essentially CHERI is ISA agnostic, so ISA's instruction set like x86 or ARM or RISC-V in this case, because we're in RISC-V Day Tokyo. The main work that we've done with CHERI is on RISC-V, and we're really excited about RISC-V. Actually, there's going to be a talk, I think after John, there's going to be a talk about the RISC-V standardization of CHERI. But essentially, CHERI is an ISA agnostic technology that can be applied to any ISA. Okay, just a little bit about the CHERI origins. So initially, this funding the project was funded by DARPA and developed largely by the University of Cambridge and SRI International. And it's matured really over a lot of years, like 14 years now. And since then, it's also grown to much more than these two original partners. But we do owe them a debt of gratitude to kind of getting this started. Okay, so just as I mentioned earlier, we need to ship new hardware, right? So how do we actually do that? So partially, so when we look at research, like obviously there's always more research to do, but from our perspective, the kind of base of research that needed to be done to prove that CHERI is a technology that we're interested in is done. So we're kind of happy about the area of research. Part of what we can see on this flow chart of getting CHERI into users' hands is that we could see that regulation, creating processor IP, and developing software and tools. we believe that there's been significant progress on these aspects, but we really need to stimulate the industry to do more. For example, on the tools side, there's quite a bit of work on adding CHERI to LLVM to make sure, and in terms of software, to kind of compile as much software as possible to use CHERI to test things out. But there's always more to do here. But what we really want to do is, as the CHERI Alliance, is kind of push this technology through this flow chart, right? So if we have some processor IP that's created, we want to make sure that that IP gets integrated into chips. We want to make sure that those chips are integrated to modules, and then eventually into products and into users' hands, because we really want CHERI to essentially be in users' hands to make sure that their computing devices are protected. Okay, and that's where the CHERI Alliance comes in. So the CHERI Alliance, we believe that kind of together we can do these 3 pillars much more effectively than we would do individually. So we aim to enable technical alignment, so that's interoperability across ISA, compliance and best practices, and also promotion. So instead of having each individual company do their own promotion, we believe that we can kind of together make sure that we have consistent technical and marketing information, liaise with the media, and make sure that regulation is aligned. So I think that's really useful to do as an alliance. And then community support. We want to make sure that open source software is out there, that we have a platform collaboration, and that we support education. So the CHERI Alliance is an independent entity. As I said, it's ISA agnostic, but to be honest, we're very excited about RISC-V. That's of course our main ISA at the moment. We have worldwide reach, so lots of companies, and it's not just one company, right? So we really need broad industry support. We want to make sure that as many people are involved as possible, and we're financed by the industry. So CHERI Alliance is relatively young. We have the start of the alliance was in February 2024, so that's been a year ago. We had our first members sign up in May 2024, and we had the official launch of CHERI Alliance in November 2024. So we're really excited about that. Talking about that, we launched with these founding partners. As you can see, we see CODASIP, who's been organizing these talks here, Low Risk, where I'm from, and the University of Cambridge, where John, the next speaker, is from. And we also have lots of other partners that we're very grateful for founding the CHERI Alliance. So yeah, that's really exciting. Just a little bit about Low Risk. That's the company that I work for, and also one of the founding members of the CHERI Alliance. The main project that we're kind of known for is OpenTitan, which is a secure root of trust. You can see here an actual chip. So this is the first commercial grade open source chip that's been taped out. It's a real chip, and you can go on GitHub and find all the RTL that's inside here. This is super exciting, and because one of the cool things about this chip is that this chip will be in Chromebooks. So Google has announced that they're actually integrating this and shipping this to users. So that's an amazing achievement for open source silicon, and that's also what Low Risk is about. It's about making open source silicon a reality. And for us, CHERI is a super exciting technology because we like open source silicon, and we like secure silicon. So CHERI is kind of a natural fit. And then part of our activities on CHERI, so there's a variant of CHERI called CHERIET or CHERI IoT. We've created Sonata, which is a development platform where people can start porting their embedded software to a CHERI-based system. And yeah, this board is all open source, so the PCB is open source, all the RTL that you would run on the FPGA is open source, etc. And you can actually buy these on Mauser. So there's a link here on the bottom here, tinyurl.com/sonata-int, where you can go and buy these boards for yourself. So this is our first kind of soiree into CHERI land for low risk side, and we're really excited to be part of the CHERI Alliance and enable this technology. And we hope that Sonata as a platform kind of helps in the embedded space to help companies port their software and start thinking about how to protect their systems with CHERI. The other reasons why the embedded world is interesting is because usually companies have a lot more control over the hardware and the software that you run. So usually one company is in charge of like shipping the software and the hardware at the same time. So it's much more, it might be much more easy to just change to a CHERI enabled platform rather than in a space where, in kind of an application processor space where you might have, it might be more complicated because you need to, you have lots of different software vendors and lots of different hardware vendors that you have to interact with. Excuse me. Okay, finally, why should you join the CHERI Alliance? So there's a number of benefits of joining the CHERI Alliance. So if you join, we kind of demonstrate security leadership together. We enable networking, collaboration, and exchange. So, for example, there will be a CHERI Blossoms conference, I think next month, or is it in April? I think it's in April. But there's many opportunities like that. There's also, well, if you're excited about CHERI, this will help accelerate the adoption of CHERI. As I said before, we have those three pillars. We want to share promotional costs and all the costs kind of related to that. So it's much better if we could do it as one unit rather than each individual company having to do those promotional costs themselves. And we activate the community. So we're really excited about that. If any of that sounds interesting to you, or anything else in this presentation, feel free to join us. You can reach out to us. So we have the general contact email for the CHERI Alliance, but also if you have any questions about this particular presentation, feel free to send me an email at mbdmaas@lowrisk.org. We have two really exciting talks coming up, so they'll tell you in much more detail about what CHERI is and what it is capable of. With that, arigato gozaimasu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maruno.
I don't know if there are any questions, or if that's even possible through this system, but.
Thank you for your interesting talk. Well, does CHERI need some kind of instruction extension? I mean that we need some new chip or new hardware, including an extra extension of the instruction set for CHERI.
I don't know. Did you get that question? His question? Oh? Yeah, ここのミュートは別に関係ない。マイクの。Did you get his question?
No, it was muted until now.
Okay. Let me ask him, say again.
Okay, my question is very simple. Does CHERI need instruction set extension? If so, we need new chip, including instructions for CHERI.
So I don't think I can hear unless, I don't think I can hear from there.
I couldn't hear. It sounded like the audio was coming from the laptop potentially, so we were just hearing indirect.
Could you maybe repeat the question from where you're standing? Yeah, I can hear you. I just can't hear the audience. Hello? Hello? Yeah, so essentially CHERI is an instruction set extension. I'm sure that John will explain that in much better terms than I have. But yeah, yeah, so essentially, yeah, you have to kind of recompile your code to make sure that you can embed this metadata that you need inside the program. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, so you can use your existing code, but you need to recompile it and run it on new hardware. Yeah, thank you for your question. Thank you.